Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today is the day 2 of simple watercolor flowers. I have tried to explain everything in details so that even if you are a beginner you can paint this particular flower easily. So let's start with the today's video, and I'm using watercolor sheet, and with the help of pencil you need to first create a basic guideline for yourself. So this is my flower size and I want to keep my flower here, so something like this you can create for your own. And I want to keep two different perspective of flower. So first one is simple and this one is side perspective. So for the side perspective you can create a round shape, and at the base of that you can create a U kind of shape, and that's it. That's all needed for a guideline. And then you can rub the unwanted pencil mark. Make sure you are able to see your guideline. Now I'm using size 5 round brush. This is simple round brush, nothing fancy in this. And I have two shades of blue color. My first blue is cobalt blue color and second one is ultramarine blue. You can use any blue color whatever you like, or you can use any color apart from blue as well. So for this video I'm using cobalt blue color and I'm mixing little bit of green into my blue color, so that I can have little different shade of blue, but you don't have to use too much green. So make sure you are using a hint of green and the color is still blue but in a little different shade. Now with this particular color I'm going to paint my first layer of flower. So I'm keeping my palette aside. I'm using this particular color, so don't worry about the color part. Now I'm going to start with the side perspective flower. So you need to create small petals like this in the upward side of the circle, and I'm using only tip of my brush to paint smaller element. So when you create something like this you have to use only tip of your brush so that you can paint some smaller element, and move your brush little bit tilted towards left side or right side so that you can have little rounded petal instead of very pointed petal. So when you are moving your brush just straight you might end up having pointed petal, so try to move your brush little bit tilted towards left and right. So first we're going to start with the smaller petals that we have at the top of the circle. So you need to cover the whole area with smaller petals, and direction of the petal is also important. So as you can see I have created couple of petals little bit tilted towards left side and little bit tilted towards right side, and keeping a little bit negative space in between you can create longer petals at the bottom side of the circle. So basically we need to fill this particular circle with multiple petals. The upward side petals are smaller in size, and as we are seeing in the downward side these are little longer petals. And try to make it little finer and little bit curvy so that we can have little curve into our petal shape, and you just need to fill the whole area. So likewise we did this particular part. Now let's create the outer petals that we have, and because this is the side perspective flower so the petals arrangement is little bit different. So you can create petals like these. So you just need to apply little pressure into your brush and move your brush as per the petal shape that you wanted. So I have created couple of petals like these. Then you can do the same thing for other side petals as well. You can keep different direction of petals like I'm doing. I'm not using any reference photo, but you can definitely try some reference photo so that you can have different angle and direction of petals and direction of flowers into your painting. But if you are not using like mine, just simply try to create multiple petals which is going outside, and a couple of them are small in size, couple of them are bigger in size, and most of them are a little bit tilted and twisted. So something like this we have done for this particular perspective. Now keep it aside because we want petals to dry it completely so that we can start with the second layer. Meanwhile we can create normal perspective of this particular flower as well. So again I'm using the same color, so I'm mixing little bit of green into my cobalt blue color, and I'm going to paint my second flower. So for that you need to create smaller petals at the center part of the flower. I need to fix it as I have used lots of water. So make sure when you are trying to create some smaller element, you don't have too much amount of water into your brush. So make sure you're not doing this particular mistake. And then you can start creating smaller petals in a round shape, keeping a negative space in between. So I'm using only tip of my brush to create these smaller petals, and I'm arranging it in a ladder form. So you can create one layer and then above to it you can create another layer. So likewise you can just fill an area like this so that we can have a beautiful center part of the flower having multiple petals in between but very smaller in size, and have a bushier structure into it. So you need to repeat this throughout until that particular smaller petal is required, and then we are going to create bigger petals. Because this is the normal perspective, so this time all the petals we are able to see the center part, we are able to see petals in a normal form. So I'm creating petals like these. You can definitely try different direction of petals for sure, because that is something I think needed. This flower is inspired by chrysanthemum. So whenever you see a chrysanthemum flower, you will see a very curvy petals into it, having very bushier structure into it. So that is something I wanted to achieve here. And now we're done with the first layer. As you can see, now we can start with the second layer, but make sure your first layer have dried completely, and then and only then you can start with the second layer. So wait until your all the petals have dried completely, and then with the help of cobalt blue color directly, this time I'm not using any green color, and I'm again creating similar kind of petals around my flower area. Now this time, just to make it more bushier, just to make it multi-layered, we have used two different shades of color, and which is important. And in each layer we need to understand we don't have to overdo it. So when you are doing first layer, make sure you have little space for the second layer of petals, and when you are doing second layer, make sure the first layer of petals are visible. So that is something we need to understand. And then same thing you can do for the normal perspective flowers as well, and you will automatically get little lighter shade of petals, darker shade of petals. And I think this is the easiest way to paint flower like these. And also make sure all the petals having different length, so keep variation in the length of the petals, and also have to have negative space in the center part of the flower. So that is something we need to do. Now I'm adding smaller petals as well with the darker shade, and that's it. That's all needed for the petals as of now. And then we are going to work on the center part of the flower with the help of green color. So either you can use green color or else you can use yellow color, because I have seen blue flower really go well with green and yellow. So for this particular video I'm using green color for the center part of the flower. And again you can create fine lines from center towards outside or towards the circumference of the circle to have little texture in the center part as well. So you can assume it as fine elements we have in the center of the flower, and you can also have little green element in between the petals as well. And same thing you can repeat for the side perspective. We are seeing the side, but we are able to see a little bit of center as well. So adding little bit of green at the negative space, in the negative space, is totally fine. Now we are almost done with the flower, but before that let's do the stem and the leaf. So in the green color I'm using little bit of red color. So when you use red color into your green, you get little different color of green altogether, which I like. So I'm using this kind of green, and then you can start creating a stem. So I need little bit of texture around this stem area as well. So I'm creating some segments to create stems, and then little bit of outgrowth you can show into this stem area. So with the help of tip of your brush, or you can use fine brush as well to add some elements around this stem area, the fine outgrowth around this stem area, to make it little bit rustic or having texture into your stem area. So that is something I did for both the stems, for both the flowers. Now we can also work on the leaf part with the same shade of green color. Again, you can create your own green, mixing different colors all together. So I have mixed light green and little bit of red into my green, but you can use yellow color as well, you can use purple color as well. Different varieties of green you can make mixing different color. Now for the leaf, I am combining multiple one strokes together, and you can create these strokes in a different direction and in a random fashion, so that you can have deep serrated leaf, you can have different size and varieties in the leaf, and you can have little rustic leaf rather than having very defined leaf altogether. So something like this I did with the help of light green color. Then I have added more red and little bit of blue into my green to make it little darker, and I'm going around the leaf area one more time to have little darker shade around my leaf. So these thing is something you can definitely do, although the main agenda of this video is to learn how we can paint these flowers, and I hope this is easy for you guys to paint after seeing this particular video, obviously. Now I'm using very concentrated color of blue color, and I'm using only tip of my brush, so that I can have some outline in my petals and middle line into my petal area. So I'm doing it for a couple of petals that I have. You don't have to do it for all the petals, but you can highlight couple of petals with little outlining with the help of blue color itself. If you want, you can use fine brush, but I like to do it with the similar brush, so I'm using tip of my brush to draw lines around my petal shape. Now same thing you can do for the leaf as well. So for the leaf, you can use little darker shade of green color, and then you can add middle line, vines and pattern that we usually see into the leaf area, and something like this you can repeat for all the leaves that you have. And that's all needed for this particular video, and I'm hoping after seeing this video you can paint similar kind of flower easily. And in the next video I'll show you one more simple watercolor flower. So thank you so much for watching. See you guys in the next video.